Okay, cool. Right, all right. Then we'll start off with the AGM. I don't really want to take too long on this because I feel as if any questions you actually have for us are more important. We're going to start with the AGM for anyone listening to the recording or anything like that, or has joined us late. And after the AGM, we'll be moving on to questions about the society's running this year. Obviously, I'm guessing a couple of people might have specific ones, especially with the current climate, about what's happening and all that at the moment. And then also, we are then going to be doing the pledges and questions for candidates. Cool. Right. Okay. So AGM, basically, we've got to go over what we said we were going to do in our manifesto versus what we've actually done. Obviously, some of the things that we said we were going to do, we said we were going to do before we learned that we weren't going to have half of a semester. So I hope you can be a little bit kind on some of them because we did fully intend to do them. We had plans drawn up to do things, but obviously, yeah, things happened. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to find up my list. So I'm just going to go through everything point by point. So our manifesto had 5 objectives, with them being to provide a safe and secure location for all individuals to share in a common interest/hobby. Second one being to host a minimum of 2 external socials per semester. Third being to host a minimum of 2 charity events throughout the year. And then the fourth being to reach a membership of 30 people by the end of semester 1. And then the fifth and final being to host a minimum of 1 joint event with another society. Right, okay, so for the first point, to provide a safe and secure location for all individuals to share in a common interest. Obviously, this is probably our most vague one and our least quantifiable one. However, we have a big membership this year. We had 76 paying members, to spoil how we did on another point. But and obviously with that membership, we've had a greater level of diversity than what we have in other years, demographic wise. And well, yeah, we've also maintained a lot of our members as well. A lot of people keep showing up, so I'm guessing it must be somewhat, safe and secure, at least, but obviously that's more of a subjective thing of how you feel that that's went. The next point being to host a minimum of 2 external socials per semester. This is the one where it's a bit of an asterisk. If you average it out, yes, we have. But if you look at it as, if you cut it, we've only had one in semester 2 because we were planning to do more just after the exam period. We were going to have a week of 3 weeks where we just did external after external after external, which likelihood is that ain't going to happen this year, unfortunately. However, because we had arcade, laser tag, bowling, kick air, and we had ice skating as 5 different externals. Obviously, if you split that, we have 2.5 per semester. Sort of, if you take an average, unfortunately, we won't be able to have 2 in semester 2, in all likelihood, just because of what's happened. To host a minimum of 2 charity events throughout the year. Well, we've done we had our costume competition. We had our pub quiz in semester 1. Then we had our charity party for Valentine's Day, and then finally we were meant to have the second pub quiz, charity pub quiz thing. But the problem, obviously, with that is that it didn't run. However, a lot of you did donate to our Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, Just Giving page. And we were still able to raise a lot of money for that. We did run a few Kahoots. We'll probably look to do more in the future when things are a little bit less hectic. Okay. Yeah. And then I'm just going to quickly bring up the amount that we have raised this year from those events that we've just brought up. Sorry, one sec. It's just loading the page. Right, profile. And we've raised £643 throughout the year. So while I didn't set a number to the amount, I just set the number of events we wanted to host. That is way, way more than I could have anticipated, and I'm really, really grateful to anyone who's donated to any of our charity events. It means a lot. Okay, then to reach a membership of 30 by the end of semester one, we have 76 paying members, and we had 76 by the end of semester one. So we fucking smashed it, to be honest. There's no other way of putting it. Yeah. And then to host a minimum of one joint event with another society, we had our second coming up. That was going to be the 24-hour D&D stream, and we had a few other things in the pipeline. Obviously, everything got cancelled. However, we did do one at the very beginning of the year. We did a gaming expo with esports and tabletop society. We had an evening where all three societies were there, and we all set up our stuff and everything like that. And it was quite a lot of fun, sort of like mingling with the other societies. So we have actually done that. So oh shit. Everyone's been kicked from. Oh, right, okay, yeah, sorry about that. I will just change the channel settings so that people don't get kicked. I have no idea how to do that, to be honest. Yeah, if you mute and unmute occasionally, just so you don't get kicked if you're in the thing, sorry. But yeah, basically, I believe that we've achieved everything that we said we were going to in our manifesto and our constitution this year, and I'm pleased with what we've achieved. Obviously, it's subjective whether you think that we've done enough, not done enough, this, that, or the other. But I'm happy with what we've done, and I know a few of the things come with an asterisk, but a lot of things this year for a lot of clubs and societies are going to come with an asterisk. So, you know, it's there here and there. I'm just going to hand over now to Eden to run through how we are money wise.
Hello. So basically, first point, there'll be that, well, we're not in debt. So that's a good start. But we sort of always have to say that, but we're really not at all, which is a really good point. But the main bit from this year is that we got, since, like Ben said, we had 76 members. That's been quite a lot of money taken in. And then throughout the year, we've put that mostly into externals, and then a few bits and bobs we bought here and there. And we've got quite a fair bit at the moment, but like Ben said, because we were going to spend that money on the externals in the next month or two, but because of the circumstances, we can't do that anymore. It means we're now going to have to just let that money roll over to next year, because it's a bit iffy with how we spend money at the moment. So we're just going to leave that to the new committee. But that does leave us with the point of being people, we need everyone to sort of ask us what they now want, because we've got a fair amount of money to spend on stuff, and stuff we wouldn't maybe usually be able to spend before. So, but obviously you need to ask the new committee about it first, because they might have plans to spend it anyway that we'll probably discuss later on. But yeah, if you have any ideas, just let people know of what you want to spend the money on. I think that's about it, Ben. I don't think there's anything else to add.
There's not really much else.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot more money left over than what we were intending. We were going to leave enough money left over so that the next year, well, it was the same, basically a similar amount that was left to us by the committee last year,
Yeah.
so that we had enough for any supplies we needed, plus a little bit more. That was our plan. And now they're in a really fucking.
Yeah. Oh. Oh dear. One sec, guys. Ben's having some issues. Well, I guess need some F's in
Hello?
the chat, boys. There we go.
Am I back?
Yeah, you think you're fine.
Wait, I'm back. Okay, cool. Right. Yeah.
Right, sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Once again, shit at this. Sorry. So it was server settings, AFK channel, no AFK channel. Cool. Down arrow. Where's the down arrow? Right. Okay. I'm gonna try and move. On mobile, it's down arrow is 3 dots. Oh, okay, cool. Solid. Thank you. AFK channel, no AFK channels. AFK. And then delete the AFK one, yeah? Right. Yeah, fuck it, we'll do that. That'll be the easier way. Okay, right. Does anyone actually have any questions about general music or no, not music, money or how things are or general plans or anything like that? This isn't any questions for the candidates just yet. There's more questions for me and Eden to field. I haven't actually got any, but I'm going to give it a minute just in case because, yeah.
I think I've got a couple of people type.
All good, cool. Right, I'm gonna, just make sure that no one else does, because I don't really want to start talking to candidates and then interrupting them. I think that'd be bad. But yeah.
Well, if anyone thinks of any questions later on, just
we'll feed it.
I'll just put it in the SGS chat.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we sent a code phrase because it's been uploaded to YouTube. I don't really want to say it on here. If you're unsure of it, message me privately on anything, pretty much, or any other member of the committee. It is also the name of the Facebook chat at the moment as well, the code phrase. So when you vote, the second question will be, what was the code phrase given to you? If you don't put it in, we do have a member list, but it's more the fact that it's just an extra level of security that we've got to take because we can't do it through the normal means that we'd like to. Yeah.
And please do vote because, part of being a member of our society is that you get to vote on this. So we'd appreciate if you did.
Oh, of course. Right. So, Caitlin, to answer your question, all the external events, obviously, no one paid for them. We paid for them through membership money. Obviously, members didn't have to pay, so that went to that. Obviously, different ones cost different amounts, but we spent about 270 quid on kick air. Bowling, we spent, that was a cheaper one, so that was 140 quid.
Yeah.
And then I think, wasn't it 240 for laser tag?
It was, yeah.
And then I think we spent, it was £14 per head for ice skating.
Ice skating was £88.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
the other two was we spent 30 quid on board games. Can you remember which one that was? I don't know which one it was.
We bought Never Bring a Knife, and we bought D&D Mayhem, and I think a couple of other. We stocked up on board games last year. We had to buy a few other supplies like a longer extension cord and some other connectors and things like that.
Yeah.
So we have been buying things. Just a lot of the things that we bought this year weren't massively woohoo flashy. They were like, we bought a 5-meter extension lead because we needed it. So it's not stuff that's overly hype, but if we didn't have it, we couldn't have the Wii and things like that.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing we spent was the food for the Valentine's party, and that was it.
Oh yeah, and food for the Valentine's party was also from that. The other things were donated prizes because I didn't want to take money from the society for the prizes because it just didn't feel right. So yeah, that was other stuff was donated, but the externals are fairly expensive, and if we spend too much else here, there, and elsewhere, we end up, shortchanged, and we didn't want to end up like that. I think that's it for questions at the moment. So we're going to do our 2 uncontested candidates first, and the one thing I want to just fully make sure of is the fact that whilst these are uncontested, if you do not feel as if, this stands for all the roles, if you do not feel that the candidates running are, good enough to actually be in it, you can vote reopen nominations. The only thing is that we'll be hosting this every single week until people are elected into roles if you vote reopen nominations. So while it can be seen as funny and as a joke to just put it for whatever, please don't, because this is going to be a pain in the arse, and I really don't want to do this every week. I'd rather play other things like online Cards Against Humanity or Werewolf or other such like things. But obviously if you don't feel as if people are, worthy of the role or position, then reopen nominations is there for that particular reason. I think we'll start with our 6th position first, and I'm just going to give a quick outline of each of the roles before we hear from the candidates. Basically, our social media supervisor is going to do exactly what it says on the tin. They are going to manage our social media and make sure that all our posts have a flow to it. Also make it so that, because it's not just something that's shared by the committee, it's a dedicated role. We will make it so that this person does actually have, we actually have things regularly being posted, maybe even if it's not just to do with the society, other things. I know that Amy, who's applied for the role, has a lot of ideas for it, so I'm not going to really, speak for much longer about it because it's a fairly obvious one, this one of what is needed of it. So Amy, if you want to unmute and give us your pitch of why you should run for it.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm Amy. You may know me as the person who's running the Minecraft server, or literally the only person who even talks on the Discord, but social media supervisor, it's a new role. I called to attention that basically the current committee, they're busy with other stuff. They're not really paying attention to social media as much, other than Facebook. So stuff like Twitter, Instagram, Discord, all that kind of stuff is just not being paid attention to. I do believe that my own set of skills might play into this, as I've recently been able, being like manager of a social media for some small groups in my past time, and yeah, I think I've got experience in basically all social media platforms. And my current agenda and goals, if I get this position, I want to ensure that news and announcements get out to all platforms of social media. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, that kind of thing. I want to create a comfortable and all-inclusive social environment outside from regular society time. So places on the internet, like group chats and stuff, where people can just feel comfort and really at home in a community. I want to ensure that communication between society and committee are always on top, and I will always act as a relay to give like feedback or news if you just contact me on any platform or whatever. And I want to be able to help society members organize any games nights or just really any like playing games in general with each other on any platform, any console or whatever. My position won't be limited to social media. I plan to go an extra mile, and many of you have already noticed that I've started with the release of the SGS Minecraft server, which I find to be a good tool, especially in these times of like keeping the community together whilst we can't see each other face to face. And I've been doing events on that, and I will continue to do events for as long as this server keeps running, I guess. Thanks for listening. That's all.
Sorry about that. I was just running through the chats and things like that to see if there was any role-specific questions for the candidate. Right. Okay. One sec. You did. Yeah. Amy really summed up the role there. Awesome. Amy, would you be cool with maybe setting up Animal Crossing New Horizons trading stuff, or refer members to other groups or servers that could do that in her place?
Yeah, I could do that for sure. I can do that like before I even get the position.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the question. I'm not going to name people who are asking questions just in case, you know. I know it's in the main chat, but yeah, really, yeah, I think you summed up everything there. I'm really struggling to come up with a question, to be honest.
I think someone else is typing, so I'm gonna wait for that before moving on.
But yeah, there was a question that was put forward. Tom's just sent one. But I'm just going to address a question that I've seen a lot of. It revolves around conventions and things such forth. Unfortunately, a lot of conventions happen external outside of university time during the summer holidays. So it's very unlikely that the society is going to be able to offer that as a thing. However, we can arrange ways for people to meet up and go to these such events. Obviously, probably not going to happen this summer, but you know, for future, that it's more rather than asking the future committee, can the society pay for us to go to this? Can we arrange through the society a group to go to this instead? Yeah. Just as a heads up for other questions. But yeah, another one. One thing I think would be cool is a way to track connecting to each other across platforms. Do you plan on having a store FCs or the like, maybe here on the server?
Well, if you mean like chat logs and stuff to like
FCs
codes,
being friend codes. Sorry.
Yeah, I could set something up like that too, like just a small Discord channel, which would just be dedicated to people posting their friend codes to add each other, or even like Animal Crossing trading stuff. Again, like what was said before, I can totally do that.
Yeah, I think. Oh, awesome. Happy with that response. I think that's all. Amy, if you want to say anything else before you.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Cool, awesome. Right, we will now be moving on to the head of tabletop role, which is Caitlin's role. And because she's on mic, I may as well let her explain what her role was this year.
Okay, so hello everybody, and this is just a brief go through of the headed tabletop role. Obviously, I've talked your ear off quite a lot about this during actual society meets anyway. But basically, for this role, what I'm doing is making sure that the D&D games are sorted, so people are set up into groups. Making sure that people know what they're doing in terms of creating characters, different campaigns that people could run. I'm also there to offer like help and advice for if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with other group of friends outside of the society. I'm here to, if you have any questions, you can come forward and ask that. I also have a strong interest in like all things tabletop anyway, so talking about like other tabletop games. At the moment, obviously we just have D&D, but in the future, who knows? So that is the base really of my job, along with just making sure that all the other games are being played, people playing different board games. I've nabbed a few to bring in this year. Been encouraging people to play those. But I think that's about it for the actual explanation of the head of tabletop role. So I will pass back now to not Ben, because I think he just died. So I suppose he's back. So I will pass on, I suppose, to our candidate.
Oh, the other thing I forgot to say before the social media supervisor, there are a bunch of things that all candidates will have to do as well as just being a part of the committee. So I was on the committee last year, for those that didn't know as well, and there have been a lot of similarities between my two roles. Obviously, everyone who runs for committee must be in some way able to work as a team. Even as chair, you aren't. It's not a dictatorship, nothing like that. So everyone obviously has to be able to work work in a team. Also, you have to be very pragmatic and take an unbiased look at situations as well. And obviously then there's the sort of more practical things of have to be a student, have to be a paying member, all that blah 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 blah. We've gone over that before, but a lot of it is the fact that you've got to sort of show up, at least feign interest, and partake in sort of meetings and things like that. I fully believe that all the candidates that have put themselves forward do, but obviously there's something to put into mind. Anyway, I'm going to now call on Hannah to give her piece about why she thinks she should be our next head of tabletop.
Hello. Right, it's working. For people who don't know me, I'm Hannah, like Ben said, obviously. So I think that Caitlin's done a really good job in the past year with the tabletop part of the committee. And rather than saying scrap that, get rid of it, I want to build on what they've done so far. I'd like to set up more opportunities for people who might be first-time players of D&D to come try out and not feel overwhelmed by the rules or character making. So we do one-shots with pre-made characters so that people can experience D&D without worrying about all of the creation behind it. I'd also like to bring in more tabletop games because I really like strategy games like Betrayal at House on the Hill and Catan and other stuff like that, and then bring in some other ones like Scrawl, which are fun. And I'd also like to help with the female aligned socials that Caitlin and Emily ran, and do some one-shots within that as well. Obviously, a key part of the role is D&D and organising the campaign groups and the one-shots. I've only been playing D&D for a few years, but I've had multiple campaigns on the go, and I've got multiple now. And it's basically become my main hobby. I've experienced running events and managing people in college when I was head girl and leader of the student committee. So we did stuff like charity events and children in need and comic relief, as well as socials. I also, well, I work well with others. I'm pretty friendly. So if any issues arose within one of the groups, I'd consult with the wellbeing officer and try and resolve it quickly, because I want everyone obviously to feel comfortable and happy in their groups. I think one area that might need some work is the organisation of the groups. I do this by ensuring rooms were booked for each group and keeping up to date with the dungeon masters to make sure that the campaigns are running smoothly. And I'd ensure that the groups are compatible by doing like a first trial session to make sure people feel comfortable with the other people they're playing with, as well as the DM. And if some issues do arise, then we can move people to another group or work these issues out. So yeah, that's it from me pretty much. Ooh.
I was thanks, Hannah. That was solid. Right, okay. There was a question sent to me. Right, okay. For tabletop, are there going to be more trading card game based games / competitions as well, or mainly just the tabletop games that we sort of have anyway? I know you touched on this a little bit.
Yeah. I really want to get into stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! So I want to do that as well through the society. I've never really done trading card games, but I know that a lot of people in the society do want to bring it in. So obviously that's one of the games, well, one of the genres that we should bring in. So yeah, stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! And what was the other one? Vanguard. I know a lot of people who've played Vanguard in the past, but yeah. And the tournaments obviously we can do as well, because we've done stuff like the Smash ones. Oh, we lost somebody. So yeah.
Another question. It sort of does back onto that of like encouraging. So yeah, you did mention about bringing in tournaments to sort of encourage the scene at the society. So yeah, I think that was sort of covered in that one. Oh, another question. Are there plans for a workshop to get to learn the new games like tabletop RPGs?
Yeah, like with doing a first trial session with D&D stuff. Obviously, that's applicable to other stuff as well. So we can do, because like the introduction D&D session that we did at the beginning of the year, helping people build characters and stuff. Yeah, workshops are definitely something that we should do more often.
Awesome, cool. I'm just gonna make sure. Oh, for stuff like trading card games, will there be beginner decks for people who want to play but don't want to sink their funds into decks?
Yeah, that's definitely something we can do. Because I know there's stuff there's like beginners decks for Pokemon and stuff like that. So obviously, with the funding, we could get some beginners decks that people can try out the game with and stuff like that.
Yeah. Also, to back what Hannah's saying up is obviously we do have a lot of money from this year that wasn't going to be spent. So so obviously getting things like that and resources like that is going to be easier than what it was going to be, before. So it's obviously, I can't say for certain, but there is actually funding that could back this up. Right, one sec, just checking no one else. Nope, doesn't seem like it. Thanks, Hannah. Do you want to have
No
anything
problem.
else to say, or?
No, that's it from me.
Awesome, cool. Right, okay, now is when we move on to the fun bit of all of these now are contested. So our first two roles that we went through were uncontested. So it's then obviously it's if you feel as if those aren't suitable nominations, then you vote reopen nominations. Now we're moving into the contested slots. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna have each person speak, and then we'll field questions, and I will field questions to both of them, and I will alternate who answers first, so that there's not someone constantly answering second. Yeah, and I will ask that you keep your questions open to both candidates, as it is within the SU guidelines. So please don't ask person-specific questions, ask role-specific questions. Even if it's something that someone has touched upon in their thing, obviously make it an accessible question to both of the candidates for each of the following roles. What did I say we were going to do first?
Well-being, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you, Eden. Cheers. Yeah, so right, I will be doing well-being first. So can I ask Emily actually to come off mic and explain what she's done this year? What the role entails.
Hi. So the well-being basically kind of acts as a mediator between like the members and like the committee. So they're there if you have any issues to kind of be the person to talk to. So basically the role is just like to make sure everyone feels comfortable and happy and feels as though they have someone on the committee that they can talk to. And yeah, that's kind of mainly it. And then they've also got to sort out any issues that obviously they get told about. So yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously one of the roles where we can't really tell you what this position's done this year, because that would break confidentiality and all sorts. So, but yeah, it's the one that make sure that we're on the straight and narrow. Emily or Ilya, who wants to go first?
I'll do it.
Okay, cool. Right, Em first then.
So hi everyone. Most of you probably already know me, but in case you don't, I'm Emily. I'm a first year costume design student. I think I'm a good match for the wellbeing role because I'm caring and empathetic. I also really enjoy helping others and just making sure everyone feels happy. I'm approachable and a good listener, and therefore people should feel comfortable to come to me with any problems, which is obviously useful because you need to kind of come talk to me. Having already done this role for the past year, I know how it fits within the committee and kind of the society as a whole. So I have a complete understanding of the responsibilities and everything that the role needs to do. If I get on the committee again, I hope to continue making the society welcoming. One of the ways I will do this is by working with the chair and the secretary when planning socials, particularly external socials, but also the internal ones, to make sure that they are accessible to everyone and everyone will feel comfortable in the environment. I also will keep an eye out to make sure that if anyone seems lonely or upset during a social, that they are okay and just kind of go up and talk to them if they look lonely.
Okay. I'm guessing that's you done because you've muted yourself. So, Ilya, would you like to do your bit? And thank you, Emily, for that.
Okay then, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ilya. I sometimes go by Lee. I go by many names. It's very confusing, but if you're ever confused, please ask. Obviously, I don't really have the one-up of having been on the committee before. However, I don't really think that affects me as an asset. I like to consider the fact that I am potentially very well qualified for this position, because I can guarantee you that any issue anyone may be facing, I can guarantee that I have either been through it myself or I have helped someone with a similar issue. I'm also not really the type of person to let things go unsolved. Like, if you bring a problem to me that you're having a lot of difficulty with, I will do everything in my power, working with the rest of the committee, to try and get it sorted for you. Because the last thing that I think anyone on the committee would want is someone coming to gaming society and being unhappy or feeling uncomfortable or anything like that. More society specific things. I think it's very important that we uphold our title as the most inclusive society. Not just in terms of like the people that we have in terms of diversity, but also how we treat them. I think this would be best done by integrating kind of more noob night-esque things, particularly at the beginning of the year. Because based on conversations that I've had with other members of the society, it seems that one of the kind of more prominent issues is that of like cliques and groups. Obviously, that's kind of inevitable, like those will inevitably form, but if there are ways that we can tackle any of that, I think it would be the best, because I mean, obviously that will happen because people have friend groups, but I think it's important that we try and get people included, and it kind of stops them from, going, oh, maybe this isn't this place for me, or, like, I feel like I can't step up and do anything. I think the best way to do that would be speaking with the chair and the secretary, getting more variety of things, maybe changing things up, maybe having specific theme nights, and like Hannah said, for tabletop as well, having more introductory sessions. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say, really. Thank you.
You did well done. That was awesome. I'm going to start with the first question here. I think because for me this is well, I don't think anything came up, but for me this was a worry. And what going into this year was a member. What would you do if a member of the society came and made a complaint about another member of the committee or the chair themselves? Oh, anyone want to take this question first? Hello.
I think when it kind of comes to like a complaint about the committee, I think that's something that needs to be discussed within the committee themselves. Obviously, that would probably just include a kind of immediate committee meeting, just kind of sitting down, explaining this person's complaints, and kind of addressing how we could potentially change that. If it's like a personal vendetta, then obviously that's a completely different issue. But if it's a case of how the society is being run, I think it's important that kind of all of the committee get to hear it, and we kind of all get to chip in a way of how we think that can be improved. Because just because one person has brought it up doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else is having the same problem. But obviously, if it's something someone's picked up on, then we can make slight tweaks if we see that that issue is necessary to be made changes with.
Yep. Emily.
So if it was kind of any other member of the committee, I'd probably go to the chair first and discuss it a little bit with them, and maybe the secretary. But if it happened to be the chair, I would probably just message basically the entire rest of the committee, so we could all have a discussion about it separately and then decide what we wanted to do about the issue, depending on the severity and everything.
Cool. Right. Okay. Right, okay. Yeah, so we've got one from Fabian here. Do either of you have any experience in roles of responsibility before / outside of SGS?
For me personally, I've done a lot of like theatre-based things, which means that I'm prone to working in a group environment. I'm also a journalism student, which means that I often have to take up roles of responsibility such as editing and things like that. But obviously, there's a slightly more kind of personal role. It's kind of more involves being a lot more sympathetic and empathetic, which I think I'm capable of doing because, well, oftentimes I have been the person that a lot of people in these groups confide in. Like I said, I do believe I'm a pretty decent problem solver. So, yeah, that's my 2 pence, I suppose.
I just want to apologise for outing the person who asked the last question before asking Emily to answer. Sorry about that.
So I did quite a lot in secondary school because, particularly in like year 10, year 11, I kind of helped run the gymnastics club at school, which basically involved me kind of keeping an eye on people and making sure they weren't doing anything stupid and just kind of guiding them and telling them not to do that. I also did a similar thing with the orchestra, because again, in that I was kind of the oldest member, and therefore kind of people looked up to me and kind of talked to me about any issues they had, basically, and I was just kind of there as to help make it seem friendly and welcoming, particularly to some of the year 7 younger students that were a bit nervous, particularly at like say the beginning of the year.
Cool. Okay. How would you deal with matters of privacy in a serious situation such as personal problems that require a more delicate approach?
Like I said earlier, I have personally myself dealt with a lot of issues, and I have also helped in helping other people out with quite severe issues. Obviously, if it's someone in the group, in the society, that is confiding in like us, I think it's very important to kind of treat it as severe as it is, if that makes sense. So essentially, it's kind of first figuring out the kind of depth of the issue, how long it's been going on for, any kind of resources. Because obviously we can't fix everything. We can give advice, yes, but we can't actually, full on solve the problem. So for me, it would be a case of kind of figuring out the root of the problem, kind of maybe messaging or even like face to face, speaking with this person quite a few times, seeing whether it's improving, doing anything like that, and giving them the resources that they need, be it helplines, kind of more advanced information, anything like that. Basically, anything that the person feels like they need, but anything that we feel like they need as well. Because obviously, a lot of the time people can overlook the severity of the wrong problem. So I think it's important to have someone who is empathetic, but also logical when dealing with it. Because obviously you can't just say nice things and wait for it to go away. So I think having a more kind of informed approach is very important when it comes to dealing with a serious personal issue.
Thanks for that. And Emily?
So obviously, if it was an issue that was directly affected by someone else within the society, I would always check with whoever made the complaint first, and then see if I could talk to mainly the chairman, but anyone on the committee about it. But if it was a more personal matter that literally did not require any other person's input, wouldn't at all ask for anyone else's input or anything, because if it's not needed, then there's no point. And also, I am a really good listener and just also can attack problems from like a different standpoint, because obviously you yourself are going to find it hard to deal with it on your own. So I'm probably enough to be obviously someone that you'd need to talk to, but most problems, if they're personal, I can help you through by myself without telling any of your issues to anyone else.
The other thing is that to mention as well is that our society this year has been put on the wellbeing calendar as well as one of the events to potentially attend by the SU, and we obviously there is the Rafiki service as well that we're connected to just through the SU to also answer that question a little bit more. Not to interject anything too much. I just muted myself and then went to talk. Right, okay. From someone who's been asking amazing questions all night, please don't leave us. With the society getting larger year on year, how do you guys intend to remain personable and approachable in groups of 50 to 75 plus people?
I think when it comes to numbers, it's very kind of important that I think obviously attendance is a big thing. Like, obviously turning up. I mean, if people turn up once or twice, then for the most part we can just assume that they weren't interested in coming back or anything like that. But if it's someone that we see a lot who may be becoming more withdrawn or anything like that, I think it's kind of important to maybe approach them personally and be like, is everything all right? If it is like a big event, like a social or anything, like I said, I myself have personally dealt with a lot of kind of social anxiety, stuff like that. I've helped people with social anxiety and any other type of anxiety, so I'm pretty good at spotting like the signs of these things. And I think in big groups it'll actually become more obvious. People who kind of tend to stick to themselves. I mean, obviously, like some people are completely fine with that. Some people just will be coming to play games and stuff. But I think particularly once the beginning of the year has kind of passed and we see these people often enough, I think it'll be good to just kind of check on a few people who seem to be a bit more withdrawn. Obviously, it'll be completely subjective as to who turns up and when, and different scenarios. Like if we get a lot of new faces and stuff like that, but I think it's up to like the person in the well-being position to kind of be prepared for that, because like I said, some people are just naturally introverted, they're turning up to play games, but it's when people start kind of displaying signs of kind of discomfort or like unease or anything like that, that's when we kind of need to take action, I think. And like I said, I have a pretty good eye from personal experience and over experience to kind of touch on these things.
Cool, thank you. And Emily?
So in order to kind of stay approachable and things, what I tend to do is try and talk to pretty much everyone at society most weeks, just so that people kind of know who I am and therefore aren't really scared of me. Also, I'm kind of quiet and shy myself, so I feel like that helps a bit in just being approachable and having people not being scared of you and scared to talk to you. And yeah.
Right, okay. I'm gonna take this, and I think I'm gonna make this just for time reasons. The last question for this role, just because we've got 3 more to do is all. Do you know for sure that you will always be at society, unless there's an emergency you can't avoid, of course? How was your attendance this year? Yeah.
Well, I've been there pretty much every week since the start of this academic year, and when I first started in first year, I've been in the society since first year. I was there every week as well. I believe I only ever missed out on one external, and that was the technically unofficial one that took part around Christmas, I believe. Really, that was the ice skating. But that is literally about it. I make it almost compulsory that I'm there every week, whether I'm on the committee or not.
Cool. Yeah, I can vouch to that as well. I have, I've been there every week, and that rings true, to be honest. Ooh. Emily?
So this year I've been there every week except from one when I was ill. And yeah, while I've been on the committee and kind of have to go, I just genuinely don't like not showing up to things. It kind of annoys me. So I tend to always be there to set up at like 6 a.m. until like the end at 6 p.m. and then until the end at 11 p.m. But yeah, so I've been there for everyone except from one that I missed. And yeah.
Yeah, once again, can vouch for that as well. Yeah, that everything Emily just said was totally on point. If anyone has anything burning, please ask. But I'm gonna be wrapping this bit up now for this role, I think, unless anyone has anything massively important. Oh no. I'd just like to thank both candidates. I know it's stressful for all the candidates to talk tonight, but it's especially so for when it's unopposed. No, sorry, especially so when it is opposed rather to unopposed. Yeah, and I want to just say well done for their contribution. Right, okay. The next role we are going to be doing is going to be secretary, and that will be Lewis Collins and Amy Collier. So if right, and either of you would like to go first?
Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Hello, everyone. I am Lewis Collins, and I am obviously running for the role of secretary. What does that entail?
Shit. Sorry.
Have you realised?
I forgot to have Fabian run over what the role is.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Fabian.
Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Right. Secretary is almost like a second in command. You kind of run things in the chair's absence, make sure everything goes according to plan, and you're also the point of call for a lot of communications. You'll be sending a lot of emails, like I've been doing for the past weeks, to make sure everyone is updated the best way they can be. Other than that, you're very much more a generalist role, kind of in wait for if anything needs immediate attention, you go to that and make sure everything's okay. Did everybody get that?
Yep, I think so.
Right.
Actually, one sec, Lewis. Before we start with your pitch, can I just make sure that Amy's mic is working? Because she did have technical issues earlier.
Yeah, I believe it's working.
Yep, it is. Okay, cool. Right, Amy, I'm going to let Lewis go first because I did interrupt him. I'm really sorry.
That's quite all right.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so you've just heard what secretary is all about, and I like to think of myself as incredibly well qualified to do that kind of thing. I've been on student councils at schools from year 3 right through to year 11 every year. Apart from the 1 year I was told I was not allowed to go on student council because I'd been on it too much, so that was fun. I've also been on the student executive in my second year of college as the transport and resources officer, which was basically sort of making sure that we had all of the resources we needed to function as an executive, and then making sure that the transport ran as it should. That involved sending a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, discussions with other people around the college, and working with the rest of the executive to make sure they had everything they needed. Because of this, I've got a really solid understanding of how committees function, and through that I've developed great administrative skills and interpersonal skills. So I'm well capable of sort of making phone calls and sending emails, to book externals, obviously filling in the risk assessments that go along with those as well, taking minutes at meetings and sort of reviewing socials to ensure that everything is running smoothly, and most importantly, I think, completing the form, which allows us to book the North Side every week. And my interpersonal skills, they'll allow me to communicate with other committee members and the rest of the society to ensure everything's okay, and obviously working with the chairperson to give them second opinions if they need them, and taking charge if they're absent for any reason. I do have my own ideas of what I'd like to introduce to SGS or change. One of those is sort of shift away from current Nintendo consoles and IPs. They seem to be sort of the majority of the video games there. So the PS2 is a step in the right direction. My thoughts are sort of like Buzz and other party games for the PS2, maybe some multiplayer shooter games or something. I'd like opinions on what the rest of the society wants to see. And that goes as well for external socials. I'd love to keep bowling and laser tag. They're incredibly successful. Maybe introduce one or two bigger socials, sort of more expensive but smaller groups, sort of like ice skating again, possibly go-karting, snow sports at, what's it called, Chill Factory, near the Trafford Centre. And I'd like to build upon the success that of themed evenings. So we had the Just Dance night, the Smash night. I'd like to do more of those. So possibly like a sports games night, a racing games night, party games, things like that. Which I hope would sort of bring the society together, sort of possibly eliminate some of those cliques a little bit. And this is kind of shooting myself in the foot, I believe. My last statement is, I don't play a lot of video games, I'll be honest, but I do have quite a broad video game knowledge. However, this lack of playing video games allows me to focus more on what the society wants, rather than what I think they want. So I believe that that is a good quality to have. I hope, fingers crossed. That is all I have to say, really, although I do want to end by saying I hope you're all staying well out there with the current situation. Yep, thank you for listening.
Cheers for that. Thank you, Lewis. The one thing I will say is, while more expensive socials are totally a possibility, it's mainly due to openness of making sure that everyone can attend everything they want to, is the reasoning behind ours. But obviously, small, more expensive ones are workable because we were able to do ice skating in, winter. So, I'm going to call upon Amy now to make her case for secretary.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy. For those of you who do, that's really tragic. I'm running to be the secretary, and I think this is because I believe I'd make a good secretary, as I have got previous experience in such roles. I am the secretary / treasurer / general dog's body at my local golf club for stuff such as running their events, running their books, sending out their emails, whatever it might be, because old people are technologically illiterate. I've also got experience in helping to run and organise meets, events, such things through my work in the convention scene. As some of you may know, I am a cosplayer. I work strongly with the company Yorkshire Cosplay Con. I run some of their events. I organise their meets. I am their general person who does these things. I also used to be the student officer in my college for history. I was the person people came to. I sent emails. I was the person who organised the events such as the history club that we ran at our college to take people to university open days and stuff like that. I really also want to be able to do this role as I want to be able to give back to the society, as this society has made me feel so welcome over the time that I have been a member of it, that I want to give back to new people and members who are already paying members that welcomeness and openness that this society has offered me over the time I have been here. Agenda wise, I want to be able to help with anything needed by the chair and the society. I want people to be able to feel welcome and that they can come to me if they need help or anything in the society needs help. I'd love to be able to aid with ideas and planning of SGS events when needed. I'm a strong believer in inclusivity for everybody, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, whatever. Caitlin and Emily's girls' nights was very, very good. I was there and I want to be able to expand on that. And I myself, I am non-binary and I want to be able to help to offer things for people who are not gender aligned in that way, as I feel inclusivity is one of the biggest and most important things that a society could do to make them like appealing to people, I guess. I also want to keep up the good work the previous secretary Fabian has done, as I feel he is like a very good secretary and I want to be able to sustain to be what he has done. But yeah, I'm not very good at speaking, but thank you for listening to this incoherent rambling, and I hope it gives you things to think about on just me as the secretary. Thanks, I guess.
Right, okay, yeah, that would, well, thank you to both of the candidates there. Really, really good pledges. Yeah. The one thing I'm gonna say is the female aligned social that we hosted was it was raised at the end of that event that Caitlin and Emily wanted to make that a monthly thing. So it would be a monthly thing that would be like alongside our normal socials. So it wouldn't be on the same date or time. It would be a different day. Blah blah blah. So it was in the works to have one in April and March, I believe. Because it was I'm sorry, Caitlin, treading on toes. But no, yeah, it was in the works to make it a thing. But yeah, so it's something we were looking at going forward. But yeah. Right, okay. Is there any questions for the secretary role? I'm just trying to think of things. Right, I can see someone is typing, so. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. How are both of your attendance records at Society?
I love turning up every week. In fact, it is something I look forward to from leaving the society the previous week, to be honest. So yeah, I'm there basically every week. Punctuality is one of my big points, actually. I I am terrified of being late for anything, which is why I speed walk everywhere. So yeah, I'd like to think my attendance record is almost perfect.
As Lewis said, yeah, I love turning up to Gaming Society. It is the only society I'm in because it is the only society I felt at home in. But I turn up every week. I believe I've been there every week. Fingers crossed, anyway. But yeah, I believe in turning up every week because if you're there and people know you're there, people know you can be talked to, you're trustworthy, and they can come to you if you're there every week because they'll know your face.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. The Right, my question isn't really a question as such, it's more a scenario. You turn up to society and there is another society, let's say, you know, a music-based society, and they've set up in your space with a lot of heavy equipment, and they have evidence that they've booked out the room as well in your time slot in the exact same thing. It's through all the correct channels. What would be your way of resolving this? Oh yeah, purely hypothetical. Yeah. Anyone want to go first on this one?
I'm not entirely sure there'd be a way to sort of solve it on the night, obviously, because if they've booked it through the official means, we've booked it through the official means, then we've both got the same space at the same time. There's not an awful lot that can be done about it. Obviously, we could go look for a different space or ask them to look for a different space, but it's a case of they haven't booked that space, so they shouldn't really be using it. I think it'd be a case of ensuring that the two societies are sort of like separated as best as possible, just dealing with it on the night, and then the next day asking whoever is in charge of booking the rooms, hey, why was this double booked? Please, can we make sure it doesn't happen again, sort of thing.
I think for me, if it happened, I'd try and come to the best compromise possible on that given night that it has happened, and talk to the other society and see what arrangements could be worked out for us to either share the room or sort something different. And after the society, maybe the next day or maybe the same night, I would go through the email channels and through all the normal channels to talk to the people who do the room bookings and ask them why it happened, how can they stop it happening, if it happens again, what are we to do about it? Because I understand that sometimes room bookings do happen, multiple bookings, so you just have to be able to ask them what you can do if it ever happens again, so you can adapt and overcome the problem.
Right. Yeah, both really good answers. The correct answer though was have a massive wobbly in the other room, then go about solving it. But yeah, totally hypothetical that one. Yeah, we've got another question. How frequently do you check your uni emails?
Every couple of hours. I am terrified of missing an important email, so I check every single one of my email accounts every couple of hours.
I'm literally the same as Lewis. I'm always on my emails. I don't want to miss anything, so I'm just sat there scrolling all the time.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Are there any more questions that anyone wants to put towards them? I think they've both done a really good job. Yep, just rounds of applause. Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll finish this roll there then. Thank you to both of you. You both did awesome. Yeah. Right. Okay. We are now moving round to the sweet piece roll. The hot one out of the group. Eden, can you please introduce what the treasurer is and what you do?
Yep. So it's a pretty simple role for this society because it differs along sort of other societies and sports and stuff, but mainly all it is you're just looking after the finance. So you'll be sending emails with the finance section for the student union and just keeping up to date so you know how much money the society's got, and then you'll just be working really closely with mainly the chairperson to basically just let them know how much money you've got and if you can afford events or not, which in our case we pretty much always do. So, but it's just keeping that up to date. And then the other main part is sorting out requisition forms for stuff that we've bought that we want the money back, that people purchased using their own credit card or whatever. And I think that's mostly it. Is there anything else? I don't think there is. Well, there is doing sorting out the fundraising. No, not the fundraising. Sorry, the well, I suppose you can help with the treasurer with that, but no, not chairman. But there's also the I forgot what I'm looking for. I'm completely blanked here. Actually, no, that's it. I think. Never mind.
If anyone was wondering why we don't let Eden speak on the weekly announcements, that's fucking why.
I forgot the what? No.
No, you basically covered it. The other thing is helping in deciding how much, but that's really a whole committee thing of how much membership should be. Treasurer is a really, really important role. Obviously we need basically the way that it is better generally to ask for your money back after spending money on the society, and then than it is to ask the SU to spend your money for you, if that makes sense. The society's money for you, because the latter takes about 2 months to happen, whereas the refund takes at most a week and a half. That's pretty much it, to be honest. So I'm now going to call upon Lewis Buckley, who is running for this role, and Will Freckles, who is also running for this role. Either of you want to go first, or?
I'll go first.
Okay, cool. All right then. Off you go. You are both muted at the moment.
My mic works, I think.
Oh, sorry,
yeah. Sorry, both of you were muted for the while there. I did hear both of you then. So who was it wanted it? Who was going first? Sorry.
I'll go first.
Okay, cool. Right then. Yeah. When you're ready.
Right. Yeah. So I'm Will Eccles, or most of you will probably know me as Will Freckles. And I'd like to be your treasurer. So you might think, why should I be the treasurer? Well, firstly, I mean, I'm a former maths undergraduate, so I like to think I'm pretty good with numbers and that kind of stuff. But on a serious note, I am a pretty responsible person when it comes to stuff like money and, where to invest that for everyone. I'm technically classed as a mature student, so make of that as you will. I'm 23. But as a person, I'm very reliable. To give you an example, I'm a musician, so I know the pain of having to rely on people who might be lazy, uncooperative, don't communicate, and all that stuff. And I don't like to be one of those kinds of people. So I think I'm a pretty good team player, and that I can openly communicate with people. Like my thoughts, ideas, observations, opinions, and all that. And so I'm a good team player in that regard. But what I'd like to do as a treasurer is to work with the other members in the committee to help make your ideas and suggestions for the society a possibility with what funds we can get, as well as give my own ideas and input too. So say there was a particular social that's been requested by members of the society. And it might look a bit, unlikely it's going to happen. As a problem solver, I'd want to sit down and see what we have available to us to try and make these things actually happen. But in general, I think it might sound a bit cringe, but I want to help contribute to the good name of SGS. I've honestly really enjoyed attending over the past year, and so I want to do my part to help maintain the standard of what entertainment value and the community that it offers to people. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah. And Lewis, would you like to do your pledge now, please?
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, okay. All right, so first of all, I think I'm suited for this role because I'm an economics student at Salford. So pretty much all my studies is involved around economics, finance, and accountancy. In addition to that, before coming to the University of Salford, I used to work as a risk management and finance officer for the Office of Nuclear Regulation, particularly on the Sellafield nuclear plant. I believe this gives me extensive qualities to handle the finance, to plan out finance throughout the year, and to calculate how much socials would cost and to plan in advance. On the society level, I believe that spending usually is lower at the beginning of the year and higher towards the end of the year. I think that should be slightly evened out so it's more even throughout the year. In addition, well, as a member of the committee rather than just treasurer, I would also want to put forward more variety at the SGS, which I think is a problem that we've run into with low variety, and especially getting drawn into several games just being over and over again, such as Smash. So I think we'd have to spend more money towards the beginning of the year on increasing variety through board games, PS2, other video games such as, ones that other people that are running for the committee I've mentioned. In addition to this, I think that the amount of socials that we do are okay, because one of the problems with doing too many socials is that there's a limited amount of spaces on each of them. For example, with laser tag only having 32 and we have 76 members this year. So if I was elected, I'd try to maintain the same amount of socials to avoid limiting the opportunities for people to meet at SGS. There's one other thing I wanted to say. I can't remember, so I'm just going to stop here.
Okay. Thank you for both of the candidates for talking. Then, the one thing that Eden did forget to mention.
Wait, yeah, hold on. Can I just jump
sorry.
in?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Just remember the last thing is that I would want to lower the membership fees slightly because, like we said, the membership fees were the same last year and this year. And last year we had 52 members, if I'm not mistaken. Well, this year we have 76. And although I don't have access to the financial sheet, so I can't tell you exactly if this is true, I'm pretty sure expenditure hasn't increased by 50% like income has. So we could do with lowering the membership fees slightly. That is all. Thanks.
Yeah. The reason why the membership wasn't lowered was genuinely this year due to a technical error, and me being worried that the SU would then put us up for £2 like what they did a couple of years ago. So I didn't want to change it because it was only by £2 more than what I said. But yeah. Just as a fun fact, the bit that Eden did forget to mention about the treasurer role, which really doesn't apply to us, and I'd be very impressed if anyone could do it.
Yeah, it's
is
not
that the treasurer is the one that's in charge of getting sponsorships and funding from external units. We don't get that because the kind of sponsorships people get are like the Give Sport a Go and Get Active and all that kind of thing, and they don't give funding things like that to us. Unfortunately, we aren't eligible for most grants, and most companies don't actually want to sponsor university societies, especially because we don't compete in anything. So, we will never be brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. If that is the sponsorship you bring in, I will come back and I will haunt SGS forever. But no, yeah. Is there any questions for either of the treasurers? Yeah. Oh, I've got one. what would your plans be? Because at the moment we do have a large amount of money that is going to be left over at the end of this year. What would your plans be for general plans be for that going forward into next year?
I'd like to invest that back into the society. Maybe keep a buffer for it for any future years if it's not all used up. But mainly just to get more board games. Maybe up the quality of the kinds of externals we can do. Just make everything a little bit better than it already has been. Not that it's been bad; it's been great this year.
Hello? Right, yeah, it's working now. Yeah, like I mentioned before, I would spend the money early on in the year to increase the variety, because I think that's probably the main issue at SGS at the moment, although I personally don't have a problem with it, is lack of variety. So, well, I'm not sure exactly how much money would be left over, it would depend, but depending on how much you could spend between like 50 to 80% on increasing variety towards the beginning of the year and leave the rest as a buffer for if you need the money later on or for other more expensive socials.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. We have another question from an unnamed person this time. If we were to begin running low on funds for whatever reason, how would this be managed?
Hello, right. Yeah, so if we went low on funds, which personally I believe would be very unlikely to happen if I was the treasurer, because like I mentioned before, when I worked as risk management and finance for the Office of Nuclear Regulations, one of my main priorities was overseeing finance and handling it in the future. But if in this scenario we were running low on funds, it would be necessary to trim the fat in a metaphorical sense of lowering the amount of external socials, because I believe that would be the main expense that the society occurs throughout the year. So yeah, if we did run low on funds, I would either lower the socials or find cheaper socials for the society to attend.
Yeah, just what Lewis said, really. Make and do with what you've got, kind of sort of scenario. Because low funds, you can't run out too soon and then have nothing for the rest of the year. You'd want to make do with what you can. Cheaper socials or maybe less socials, but try and accommodate for that with more more engaging, like good non-externals.
Yeah, to be honest, as in the state that society's in, not to overly blow my own horn, we've budgeted it really, really well this year, so we haven't actually had to rely on any external spending, and the likelihood is that we weren't going to, even if we would have had our full year at SGS. Yeah, Eden's done a great job in the role. I know Hannah's being shitty in the chat saying that taking the piss, but he actually has been a great treasurer this year. Yeah. So, but no, yeah, both of your answers and things were massively valid and on point. Right. Is there any more questions, or are we fairly cool? Nope, doesn't seem to be. Thank you both for speaking. I appreciate it. And now we move on. It's main event time, if you will. Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we have only got one left. Cool. Right. Yeah. So the last role is chairperson, which is mine. This year, obviously, no one's going to be able to fully take over. I will, cast a long shadow, but generally what you have to do for it is everyone else in their explanation of what the other roles do mentions that, well, when this arises or that arises, I would then talk to the chair. So you have basically you have fingers in all the jars, and you sort of run everything. With the help of everyone else, you sort of oversee that, make sure everyone else is doing their job, understand what everyone else's job is, the general rules of this, the SU, the way the SU works. When everything goes up shit creek with no paddle, you're the one that everyone turns to steer the canoe. Yeah, basically, the buck stops with you. When everything goes wrong, you're the one that has to sort things out. And when everything goes right or goes your way, you get to revel in the credit for it. This year I basically have had helped out with every single role. It's all singing, all dancing this one. I'm gonna so it's Fabian and Caitlin going for this role. Which one of you would like to go first?
I don't mind going first.
We're both clamoring for it now.
Right. Okay.
You got there first.
How honourable. Guess I'll take the reins. So, for those of you who don't know me, which I expect will be very few at this point, I am Fabian, though you'll probably know me by one of my many nicknames. I have been a member of this society for all of the years that I have been at university, and it's by far and away one of the more welcoming spaces that I have ever been a part of, generally due to the more relaxed, laid-back atmosphere where you're able to geek out over whatever game you like. I've already given a fair amount to the society in my time here, not least of all in my role as secretary, but in my time here I've given, I think, a total of 3 monitors since I started, and I bring in my PS2 now to share with all of you. And I want to be chair to add my own touch and further help grow the society in a way that I can be proud of and everyone else can enjoy. I like to think I'm quite well qualified for this position. I'm just in the process of completing my placement year at Lanella Biotech. For the past year, I've been part of a biomedical research team. As a result, I am no stranger to teamwork, and it has also given me experience in both presentation and communication, not least of all being clear, concise, and confident, but also due to the language barriers as it's comprised of individuals from across the globe. I'm experienced as a leader as well, though I prefer to adopt a more team-working role, as I did manage to lead my Duke of Edinburgh expedition over 48 hours away from our homes. I have already, I feel, handled the society quite well in Ben's absence, and took care of the split external social to ice skating. And I feel as though I've already shown my initiative by compiling together and handing out and analysing the data from some surveys that I handed out at the beginning of this trimester, I believe. For those of you who don't remember, I put out a survey to see how people were feeling and better, gauge how people wanted to see the society go. And the results, which I think have been echoed by some of the other people already speaking, are clear as day. People want variety. So, my two-pronged approach: retro tech, new tech. New tech, PlayStation VR with Beat Saber. I know some people might think that that's low throughput due to the fact that it's only one player and maybe a bit of a high setup, but it will be on my PS4, and I don't see it being any lower throughput, as it will have higher pull, meaning more people will want to play it than, say, something with a bit of a more difficult skill ceiling, such as FIFA or Mortal Kombat, which we have currently. As well as this, I would like to see some retro tech, such as a Nintendo GameCube with games like, Mario Kart Double Dash, Melee, Power Tennis, Mario Party. Yes, we already have a Wii which can play this. However, if the Wii's playing GameCube games, it's not playing Wii games. And I have plans for the Wii as well. I would like to see some more rhythm games as well, like Guitar Hero, or even DJ Hero, God forbid. Someone earlier did mention Buzz for PS2. We already have the Buzz remotes in the store cupboard, if memory serves. So it would only be a matter of finding the game, and then that would be ready to go. And I would be happy to get any other games people will want to see up and running if it's within reason. But I'm not just stopping at variety in video games. Oh no, I want to see some new board games. we're all a big fan of the co-op with defector element, so werewords would be on the table if you'd get the joke. Werewords is kind of like an updated version of werewolves. Instead of it being one pack, it's one wolf. And it's a lot more, I'd say, cerebral in that it's not just pointing fingers. You have to try and solve a puzzle as a villager and throw a wrench in the works if you're the werewolf. I'd also like to bring in the Binding of Isaac 4 Souls, which is, of course, based on the hit roguelike from Nicalis, facing off with your friends in a competition style to collect all 4 souls. And last but not least, a personal favourite of mine, Death Battle. Duel to the death in Rooster Teeth's new 1v1 game featuring various items from the past competitors and many video game, comic book, film characters. The externals, I feel as though, have little to improve upon. Laser tag, bowling, the arcades, all of them, and Kick Air as well, I think have been perfectly timed, perfectly spaced. The amount of people going fine. Transport has been perfect. I would like to look at going to the Bury Arcade Club, as I have heard good things. There is a slight concern with travel, although with enough research, I'm sure that we'll be able to remedy this. Another thing I'd like to introduce is balanced competitions and/or tournaments. We all like to have a tournament. However, it's a bit dissuading when you see people who have the game at home and play it a lot in their free time, stomping people who just want to play for fun. So a bracketed system would be a welcome addition, I think, and as well help with inclusivity for people who just want to kick back, like Ilya touched on earlier. So it would not be complex, just a simple division based on whether or not you play the game outside of society or not. A few other theme nights. I would like to introduce analog nights, where the plugs are pulled. No screens, except for maybe Jackbox, because that's kind of a crowd game. And we all partake in board games, because that's just fun. And rhythm nights, so getting out Just Dance and other rhythm and music games like Just Shapes and Beats, Guitar Hero, etc., etc. And maybe, for example, racing nights. I think someone else mentioned that earlier, like Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart 8, Burnout, Outrun, Sega All Stars. I think that encapsulates everything. So I'd like to thank you all for your attention.
Awesome. Thank you, Fabian, for that. Fairly comprehensive there. Now, Caitlin, do you want to take over and put forward your piece?
Indeed, I shall. Okay, I think that's working. Great. Well, hello everybody. As you hopefully know, I am Caitlin. If you don't know, I am Caitlin. So first of all, I just kind of wanted to give out a huge thanks for everyone to actually making it this far, because obviously it's been a very long evening. Obviously we've got the complications with the coronavirus, but the fact that everyone's here, they're still active in the society, it's really good. So thank you for everyone. And basically, second of all, thanks for making the society great so far. I've had a lot of fun currently working as the committee, which now I guess leads into my time to shine. Because I think that I would make a good chairperson for next year, as I have been a really active member of the committee this year and arranging lots of different socials, making sure that I was still active as my role as head of tabletop. Some of my more inspired works have been the Noob Night. I was the one that suggested that we hold something that would make the society more welcoming for people, and I've heard it brought up a couple of times so far as a very positive thing that people want to see more of. So that is definitely something that I want to put forward as my role as chairperson. I also, which I ran the D&D masterclass. I know a lot of you were there for that, and that was a lot of fun for me, because D&D is a big hobby of mine, so making other people more educated in that was really such a great thing. I also, with the help of our current wellbeing Emily, organised and run the female aligned only social, which at first was just going to be a female social, but as to keep the theme of the most inclusive society, by the way, I wanted to make sure that it was a female aligned only social, and that was a great success. people have been mentioning it as well. They've been loving it, which is great. As Ben did mention earlier, it is something that I very much want to continue. No matter who is chairperson, I think I will definitely fight for the social. So also trans rights, the best, the only right, trans rights. But I think I have experience with running socials outside of our usual ones. I've been making sure that people get to places on time. I've been there going to every social, arranging things, and in furthering the female aligned only social, we've suggested lots of people want to learn games that they don't know, like Yu-Gi-Oh has been brought up, and I know that we have some very talented Yu-Gi-Oh players. Jeff. However, it can be a bit intimidating if you get thrown in there with people that have played these card games a lot before. So as a chairperson, not only would I arrange these noob nights and help run different socials, I would want to make sure that I get involved with helping teach them, because even though I'm not the best at Yu-Gi-Oh, I still know some of the rules. So I'm also like, ooh, take a breath. I'm also super friendly and approachable, as you can now tell. I love to talk. I don't stop talking. And I love to get involved with all the all the society meetups. I've been to pretty much everyone unless I was ill or so unless I was ill, I've been to every meetup, and you'd know that the society is being run by someone who enjoys the society themselves. You can see that during Just Dance nights, I'm always up there dancing. Obviously, Emily beat me every time, and she has a godlike strength that I won't talk about. But I'm there, I'm running, I'm playing different card games with people. I'm trying to introduce myself to lots of people. I'd like to think that I know every single one of you pretty well. I'd like to know that hopefully you guys know me pretty well. And obviously we've had this discussion of a big thing about chair for me personally is listening to the society. And yes, there are many things that I want to include, like I was saying, special Yu-Gi-Oh nights, the female aligned only socials, more noob nights, more we've obviously heard a lot of things here about some people aren't as into Smash as others. Obviously, Smash is a huge part of game society. Hopefully that didn't crash. A lot of people enjoy it, but the whole point for me is I want to listen to you as a society to hear what you want. It's because the society is not run by one person. It's not even just run. I say that with air quotations. It's not run by the committee. It's run by the committee, but it's the people in the society that makes it. So if I get chair, I'll make sure to keep the game society on the upward trajectory it's currently on, while continuing socials that everyone can get involved in, bringing in new people, keeping that diversity up there, making sure that everyone has something to do, everyone's enjoying it, and just kind of making it a really fun and interesting place to be. I feel like I've waffled on a little bit, but either way, I can't wait to see where next year takes us all. So I think I'll be passing back to Ben now, but thank you very much for all listening to my waffling.
Oh, thank you to both Fabian and Caitlin. We will now be posing questions towards the both of them. So if you have any questions, please ask them. It doesn't matter how, jokey or silly they are. No one's now going to be left. Oh, sorry, I've been eaten. Oh, right, okay. Right, okay. So the first question that I've got. I've got two questions from one person. Unfortunately, the way that they phrased it may give them away, but I feel like they won't give a shit. So not to name any names, but as a former chair, one thing that gets discussed every few years in the life cycle of SGS is the chair connecting with the society, with the gaming scene in Manchester. Obviously, there have been strides made over the societies last year to work with other gaming aligned societies here in the Salford SU, think esports and tabletop. In the past, for the newer folks, there have been things like Q&As with developers local to the scene in Greater Manchester, or collabs with other uni gaming societies, as an example. My question for you, potential chairs, is how can you connect the largest gaming oriented society in the Salford SU to the scene in town? Do you have contacts, exciting ideas to tie people into these locales around town, perhaps?
Basically, to answer that first question, is not sure how many of you know, but I'm actually on the games design course at Salford University. So we have access to a lot of different things. Actually, in the course, the media city building, you know, it's a very interesting. It's something that I'm looking at is the actual like different like other societies, the sites around towns. I know lots of different places where you can go, all the comic book places that sell tabletop games. I've bought quite a few from there. However, in terms of the other inner societies for the Salford SU, I know a few people in esports that I talk to quite regularly, and the same with tabletop. And unfortunately, due to the virus that is currently out there, we were not able to do the joint D&D live stream, but that is something that I was definitely taking part in, very heavy with the what's the word, communication from that side of things, making sure that I was in it and involved. It is something that I definitely want to do because we are a gaming society, and even though not myself, I'm definitely not a good person at competitive gaming, it is still a side of gaming. It's very interesting to keep these three societies kind of intertwined. But it's that also side of things of I have a lot of like contacts outside of the uni that play games. I know a few like game developers. It's so it would be something that I would like to bring into the society because really games are it's my thing. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I definitely want to include the society more. You know, I could be like, hey, for people that are interested in playing Smash, there's this Smash event. Hey, Yu-Gi-Oh locals, Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, stuff like that. It's just something that I would definitely want to bring into it. So that's it from me. I think I'll pass that one on.
Awesome. Fabian?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can, yeah.
Well, I'd obviously like to reach out to the other societies to do as many collaborative socials as they'd be comfortable doing. I feel like keeping these three societies intertwined to have a more unified identity would be a very, very lucrative option to take. I would be all for scouring all the outlets that I could for, you know, the latest releases or maybe some externals out there to like some arcades or in cafes or whatever to keep that that spirit live. I'm sad to say that unfortunately I do not have the connections as I am not taking that course as much as I am really, really interested in games. They are a hobby. Should I answer the second question there?
No, I'll pose it audibly because we're going to be recording it, so I'll pose it now. Right. Okay. The second question from the same person. Those who I'm going to out them because I know they won't give a shit. Tom was chair in my first year. So I take a great weight of sort of credence to these questions because he comes from a place of knowledge of being a chair. His second question are, how are you planning on representing the society outside of internal improvements? One big part of the job is inviting new folks into the fold and improving the current situation. Is there a plan in mind to follow successful events like Noob Night from this year and to follow in Ben's shadow? Pardon me, sorry. How do you intend to get involved with the larger SU environment like the exec? Before I pose this question to the candidates, I will just explain what the executive is. It is a panel that I sit on. I ran for a position on it this year, and it is one that decides society's budget along with the sports club's budget. And basically, if anything is put to a student vote that is related to sports or societies, the exec has a say on it, and we get to talk about it and make amendments and things like that. Basically, it's a council for members of the committees for the societies, it's meant that I have a better knowledge of how the SU system works, what will get funding, what won't get funding, because I've been in the room when those decisions have been made. Yeah, the exec is basically a committee of committees is the best way I can describe it, and you talk directly to Stephen and Casey, who are the head of the sports and societies at Salford University.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. No, yeah. Go ahead now, then, Fabian.
Well, I've already had or been part of a discussion with Ben several times about what he's mentioned about the exec. So I would definitely be joining up to the exec as best as I could if I was to get chair, as I am told through Ben how it works, and to quote him quite famously, it's a lot harder to say no to someone when you can see their face. Getting new people involved, obviously we'll hold the expos at the Freshers Fair that we do always. And I think building upon Noob Night is always going to be a good idea. So maybe have one of those per trimester if possible, or more frequently if not. Other than that, no, I think that encapsulates a good answer for that question.
And Caitlin, do you want to respond to Tom's second question?
Yeah, so in terms of the second question for inviting new folks, I was very active with other than due to prior coursework conflictions. I've been very active in the like the welcome weeks. I know some of you saw me. I dressed up in my LARP gear, waving people down to get them into the society. I like to think, yet again, I'm quite approachable with things like that, and I love welcoming new people in. I mention it, the Game Society, to a lot of people that go, oh, I've kind of had an interest in this, but I'm not sure. I'm like, hey, you should come along for the night. Try it out. Everyone's super friendly. Everyone's really nice. We can test it out. In terms of getting involved with the larger SU environment and the exec, it is something that I would definitely heavily consider if I was chair, because as both Fabian and Ben have also said, that it's definitely a good position to be in, especially with the executive committee. I've also I'm quite on friendly terms with like the current SU the current like student union members, and in groups such as Salford Connections, I'm like, hey, Game Society is doing this. I'm interacting with people's posts. I'm trying to get our name out there, because it's like I said earlier, I just want to get the trajectory upwards. I want to keep it going, because like thanks to Ben and like past like committee members, it is going up. So that's what I would say towards that question is I'd like to get as many new people in as possible, because we are I'm being rather biased here, but we are a great society, everyone in it, and I'd like to welcome as many new people as I can in, because it is a great place to be and hang out and feel welcome. So yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay. Right, now we're going to move on to the most important question you'll be posed tonight, because it's from me. I'm going to basically. I think this is obviously very subjective to both of you. But what do you think your biggest contribution to the society has been this year while you've been on committee?
Other than my presence, no, I'm kidding. I think the biggest contribution, I would say, even though it's fairly recent, I will say it was the female aligned only social that I helped organize and run, mainly because that's something now it's been done, now that we have seen it work, people liked it, it's something that I feel very passionately about, is that I'd like to see that continue forward, even if I don't get voted in as chairperson. I will be fighting for that to continue anyway, mainly because I know that it's something that I really enjoyed doing. It was fun to have this smaller group, but it's also that's for the like one half of the society, I suppose. But it is something that I think is a very big contribution, mainly because I think that is going to change how, in certain situations, the society will handle certain things. So I think that one is my biggest contribution, even if it is fairly recent.
I feel as though I've made several other contributions a bit off topic from that. Like I've obviously brought in my PS2. I act as a bit of a contrarian in the committee, kind of like providing other points of view. But I feel as though the biggest thing I've given this year, whilst it's not exactly official or anything major, would be the survey that I handed out. One of the things that several people have raised this evening is listening to the society. And I don't think anything can better encapsulate that than actually just fully asking as many people as many questions as possible, getting that back, and then feeding it back to all the relevant people, which I have. So I feel as though that's been my best contribution, really listening to all of you, as well as just floating around and trying to be a friendly, if heavily mockable face.
Thanks for both those answers. I did have one question sent to me on Messenger earlier, so I'm just gonna. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm gonna modify this question because some of the things I've touched on before, because it was the question that touched upon conventions and things like that. But I'll say the original question and I'll amend it afterwards. For the head, will there be more gaming-based events such as airsoft, arcade place, conventions, cosplay making events, etc.? The two that I'm going to strike from that is conventions. Generally, we would have to pay for everyone's ticket, which most of the conventions is £20 a ticket. And if you see that our entrance fee is roughly £20, well, we only take £20 of the £22 membership fee. You can begin to see why this could potentially not work. And airsoft is also its own society. We would struggle to do a joint event with them where we actually go and play airsoft because we wouldn't fall under the correct our health and safety thing would have to be heavily amended, and also the cost and everything like that. I know this because I've been seeking to do an event joint with airsoft this year. It was going to be a competitive charity laser tag. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find a date for it before the current situation now, where we can't find a date for it. But yeah, will there be more gaming-based events otherwise, such as arcade place and sort of like cosplay making events?
I feel as though this year has really hit the nail on the head with the balance and the variety of externals. As a matter of fact, if I just pull up the data dead quick, the survey actually perfectly reflects that the external frequency and the support was both the highest scored. I would happily replicate the exact number and nature of societal externals and theme nights from one year to the next. Of course, I would always look to do collaborations with other more varied societies, all in the name of charity. Answering the question related to conventions, I would love to be able to facilitate or even pass down to the secretary to facilitate the formation of groups that would be willing to group up and go to a convention. But as Ben mentioned, it's well outside of our payroll to be able to fund an entire excursion of that magnitude. But any other support outside of monetary, we'd be happy to give, such as arranging meeting times, etc., etc. That would be all well within our grasp, as it falls under gaming.
Yeah. In terms of like basically building kind of off of Fabian almost, it's that whole so like Ben said, as much as fun as it would be to go as a society to a convention that is out of our budget. However, I am a fair frequenter of I am a fair frequenter of conventions, so hey, if you see me, unofficial meetup, of course. However, in terms of other things, this kind of leads back to the question that Tom said earlier. I think in terms of bringing things to do with gaming, but slightly different, into the society would definitely be interesting. Whether in terms of risk wise, we'd have to assess certain things to whether they would be allowed. However, holding like a little cosplay workshop might be fun. I know that, for example, Emily is a costume design student. Even I think that she would very much enjoy running something similar to that. But doing that, making sure that like gaming different socials that aren't just sit around and playing video games is definitely something that I would want to pursue, because as much as it is fun to chill out on a Wednesday and sit and play video games, it is interesting to run like different nights. So for example, instead of I would collaborate with the next tabletop head of tabletop, and maybe perhaps instead of D&D we run a Vampire the Masquerade game. So things like that is definitely something that I would want to integrate, of a different view of gaming other than just playing the video games.
Okay, cool. I've already seen that people have actually started voting, and that is awesome. I scheduled a post to post on the SGS group for that has the link. So the code phrase you need, and I hate to do this, and it really sucks to do it, but because the list I have for everyone is from the official SU site. While usually I'm totally happy with preferred names and nicknames, I'm going to have to ask this once just so I can verify the people voting. Can they please put their name as it is registered with the student union? I'm really sorry for any inconvenience that this can be. It's just the way it is. I have to be able to verify this because it's not being done the way that it normally would if we did it online, because all the servers and everything are shut down. You have a week to vote. Yeah, so we'll be announcing the winners on Discord next Wednesday, and then we're going to be playing a game of Werewolf or something like that afterwards. So yeah, if you want to, we'll then post the thing. I would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who has put time in and effort in to apply tonight, and I really wish that everyone goes and votes, even if it's just to say they're all shit and that you would wish to reopen the nominations, just because we need your feedback. That's how this works. But yeah, any questions from the AGM or that crop up otherwise during this week, I will field to the people that have taken part tonight, and I will put it to them in this coming week. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and yeah, please go and vote. Tom, I'm going to answer your question, not in this because this is going to be uploaded to YouTube. So yeah, that's it for tonight. Thank you, everyone. Good.